Hey guys, as a Canadian living in the UK, I just finished my family UK visa renewal, and while everything is still fresh in my mind, I want to share it all with you guys, so hopefully you can complete this process with as little stress as possible. So first up, let's talk about the online application. So the first part of this whole visa renewal process is the online application that you do through the Gov website. And as with every video, all of the relevant links will be in the video description. Now, my biggest tip for this step is to start your application early. The great thing about this process is you can sign in, you can start filling out the application, you can save it, and then you can come back to it later. Starting early also gives you a good idea in terms of what information you might be missing. So rather than doing it, at the last minute, getting to a question, realizing, oh no, I don't have the date for that, or I don't have the evidence for that, and then panicking because you need to submit it that day. By starting it early, you have so much more leeway, and it gives you so much more extra time to go find all the dates and the information and the documents that you need way ahead of time. From my memory, the renewal application is the same as your original online application, but you will answer a particular question that this is not the first application you are making with this particular partner. Most of the questions on this online application portion are pretty straightforward. Sometimes the language that they use is awkward, but what I would do if I was stuck is I would read the question aloud to somebody. The idea is you can complete this application with common sense. You don't need a degree or any knowledge of the law, that kind of stuff. It should be able to be completed with common sense. So when I would get to a question, when I just didn't really understand, I would read it aloud to my partner or a family member or a friend and ask them, what do you take this as? How do you read this question? When in doubt, Google that particular question in quotation marks, because there is almost always somebody asking the same question either on some sort of immigration forum or on Reddit. Now, of course, these people are not experts, so take their responses with a grain of salt, but I have found in my experience, even with this renewal visa application, when I was just stuck and I kind of thought I knew what the question was asking, but not totally certain, I would Google it in quotes, see what they're saying on Reddit, and oftentimes what those people were interpreting that question, it was the same as mine. But it helps sometimes to have that confirmation. Next up, let's talk about whether you should get a lawyer. Now, for this family renewal, so this is not your first family visa, this is your renewal. If your case is fairly straightforward, for example, you're still married, you still live together, there's no need to pay for a solicitor. You can absolutely complete this renewal application on your own. It is overwhelming, but it is not impossible. Now, if your case is weird, or you know that you're missing something, or something has happened that your case is just not that straightforward, then it might be worth meeting with a solicitor to see how they can help you. Only if your case is strange. So I have used an immigration solicitor for a previous visa when, again, my situation was strange and I was concerned. So I went to a professional, he helped me do the application. It was not the greatest experience and it cost a huge amount. I think the end it was about £2,000 just for him. Now, just because my process was a bit of a nightmare doesn't mean yours will be. My visa was successful, so the end result was good, but the experience, not so great. Now, what documents do you need for a family visa renewal? And this is, I find, always the hardest part. Now, when you do the online application, you can't go to the next page unless everything is filled in. So what I did, I started early. When I got to a question where I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to answer it, I would put capital X's. I'd put like 6 X's just to fill that spot, fill that blank, so I could go to the next page. Because at the end of the online application, it gives you a list of all of the documents you need to provide. So what I did was I got to the end as quickly as possible. I copied and pasted all of those documents, the checklist, into my computer. I then started to gather everything and I would check it off of my list once I had it. Now, you'll need all of these documents and all of the evidence scanned into your computer. So I don't have a document scanner. I don't know anybody who does, but what I did was you can get free photo scanning apps. Some people aren't comfortable with that because you are taking photos of personal documents. I personally don't care. That's gonna be your decision. But I got a photo scanning app, so you would literally take a picture of the document. It would then format it to look like a document rather than a photo, and then I would airdrop it to my laptop. And I would save everything as a PDF. That's sort of the preferred method, but they will accept other formats like JPEGs. Then I would save all of my documents, all of my evidence and my scanned PDFs and all of that stuff into one folder on my computer with very straightforward descriptive names. This just helps keep everything organized because you may end up with quite a lot of documents. If you're really uncomfortable with scanning your documents, you feel that you are not capable or you just simply don't want to, as part of your upcoming biometrics appointment, you can pay for a scanning service. So when you go to the biometrics appointment, you bring all of your documents with you and they do all of the scanning and uploading. But of course they will not do it for free, so you do have to pay for it. I personally wouldn't recommend it unless you are absolutely not confident like with technology or English is a second language and you're not really comfortable. But otherwise you should have no problems scanning the documents into your computer yourself. Next up, do you need original documents? So I have been living in the UK for the last 7 years and things have really changed over the last couple of years. Originally, when I would apply for a visa, I was applying in the UK for an unmarried partner, right? And I had to provide original, like certified documents. And it was a nightmare. So something as simple as you need to provide bank statements. Way back when, they wouldn't allow you to just print off your bank statement. I had to go into a bank, get them to print it off and to certify it. And it was horrible. Thankfully, with technology, with everything being scanned and submitted online, things have changed. Thank God. So in my case, in my most recent renewal, I provided documents such as mail. So that would be considered an original thing. It came to the flat. It is a original document. I mean, I'm still scanning it into my computer, so it really doesn't matter anymore, but that would be considered an original document. But I also included PDFs of my bank statements that I just saved from my banking and saved it as a PDF. I also went into certain like bills. So for like the electricity, you can sign into your account. I could download PDFs. So it showed my address. It showed that I was living here and paying for electricity and that kind of stuff. So those would be considered not originals because I'm just downloading them offline, but they're accepted now. I also downloaded things like my tenancy agreement. So once that was all signed and official, the letting agency emailed that to us. So I just saved that as a PDF and included that in my documents. Now you get through all of that mess and it's now time to submit. So the guidance online says that you should apply for your renewal about 1 calendar month before the expiry date. In my situation, it ended up being like 1 calendar month plus 2 days. So when you're ready, go over your saved online application very, very closely, line by line. And eventually you will get to the submit section. So it is very straightforward. When you get to the end of the application, it will just sort of walk you through the next steps. Once you have officially submitted the online application, you cannot change your answers. So just be certain. At this point, you'll then be prompted to pay. And there's a couple of things you have to pay for. So when we're talking about costs, of course, there is the cost of the application. So when I just did my renewal, the cost was £1,048. pounds with standard processing. So when you are going through this application checkout and like paying portion, you can choose two options. Standard, which is the 1,048 pounds, or priority. If you want priority, when I did it, that ended up being about 1,800 pounds, so about 800 pounds extra, but you do get a result within 1 business day of your biometrics appointment. So if you are in an absolute rush, like something is happening and you have to get a result as quickly as possible, you can pay for the priority option. But just know, once you select your option, whether it's standard or priority, you cannot change it. Next up, you have to pay the NHS fee. What's really exciting is they are increasing this literally as we speak. But for my renewal that I just completed, I paid 1,560 pounds. And finally, you have to pay for your upcoming biometrics appointment. So for me, that was 139 pounds. Now your figures might be different if you are applying with any children. Children cost more, but as someone with no children, those were the costs that I paid. Next up is booking your biometrics appointment. So once you submit your online application, you pay for everything. You will then be prompted to book your biometrics. So at this appointment, this is where they take your photo, your fingerprints, and your digital signature, and they also officially submit all of your documents to the home office. And while booking this appointment, you can add on extra services like having them scan in all of your documents. So for me, the closest biometrics service center, like the closest office, the earliest appointment that I could book was a week and a half away. But of course, this will depend on the time of year, also which service center you're applying for. But for me, it was a week and a half. So you've submitted your online application, you've paid for everything, you've booked and paid for your biometrics appointment. The next step is to upload all of your documents and all of your supporting evidence. Now, this is done through a particular website. So you will be emailed a link, you sign in, you make an account, and then it is an online portal for you to upload everything. You can add as many documents as you want, and you can save and you can come back to it later. Now, there is a giant submit button. You can only submit your documents once. Now, in my situation, I uploaded everything, I checked my checklist, I made sure I had everything, and then I clicked submit. And then the next day, I realized I didn't upload a document, the checklist. You have to upload the checklist itself, which is so stupid. But I already hit submit, so now I'm panicking. If you submit everything, then like me, you realize you forgot something, you can still upload it. And then when you go to your biometrics appointment, that is when they actually submit everything on your behalf. You have up until 48 hours before your appointment that you can be uploading documents. So if you do miss something, don't panic, upload it. As long as it is 48 hours before your appointment, you'll be absolutely fine, and then they will submit it on your behalf. The portal itself doesn't really give you guidance on what documents you need to upload because it is used for pretty much like every application. So every application is different. It's very vague and just sort of like one size fits all. So you really need to go off of the checklist that you were given for your particular visa and go off of those required documents. The portal also gives like generic categories. So there's ones where it's like financial or education, but it's not really clear where you should upload your documents under which category. Now, I've heard these category headings don't really matter and they are only to help the applicant organize their uploads. That's just what I've heard. The home office doesn't care. They're gonna go through everything anyway. So just do your best when uploading everything. It's more important that you upload every required document than they're under the correct category. Now, after you upload all of your documents, you are going to need to attend your biometrics. So what should you bring? Well, you absolutely need your passport. You need the appointment confirmation. So they give you a QR code when you book the appointment. You should bring that. If you are paying for them to upload your documents, you need to bring all of them. If you have uploaded your documents yourself, you do not need to bring them. Now, how long does it take to get a result? So the timer really starts after your biometrics. That is when all of your documents are officially submitted. For me, I received a result 17 business days after my biometrics appointment. However, when I was at the appointment, the biometrics people told me that I would get a result within 2 to 6 months, which kind of terrifying, but it ended up being 17 business days. If you have any questions about this process, please leave a comment down below. Definitely check out this video. I do a deep dive on what to expect at your biometrics appointment. But until then, I'll see you in the next one.